Hey, this is Gene. I really had a hard night last night. This stuff is just very, I think it's COVID. I mean, I had COVID back when it came back, and I had it pretty bad, but it's not as bad, but it's just very similar. It's just not at the same level that it was. And my wife's been dealing with it too, and she's just trying to get through it. So, but I just want to talk really quickly about Nick and his uh, what he said last night. I'd hoped that he would be very mature, and he was. He he made it less about himself and more about whatever this movement really is. I thought that his message was spot on. Um, there are a lot of people out there that don't believe that Nick can be next. Basically, he's not going to be Charlie Kirk. That's not how he. That's not Nick. What I did like that he brought up the fact that Charlie Kirk was a God fearing man, and so was Nick. And this whole thing, and he made a small mention of it last night, saying that Kirk had tried to basically derail his career. I don't know the truth of that, um, but I know that over the years, watching Nick, that he felt rejected to that side. I mean, all he was really talking about back in the 2016, 2016-17 was he just had a couple questions about Israel and stuff, and he got ostracized because of that. It's doubtful to me that that Charlie Kirk stopped him from going anywhere. I think that Nick, by his own words and actions, was not ready to be in those spaces, and maybe he should never be in those spaces. We have to have somebody that can make us look at things that most people won't look at, and Nick has that function. However, with the events of what happened, uh, young men especially are looking for a leader, and that's we thrive. Men thrive on that. Now I can't be that. I'm a 60-year-old man, and he actually even talked about that last night. He said elderly people and young men have to be leaders now, have to be. So his message was 100% when he talks about we have to be humble. We can't be going out and just use our anger. Because not really, but there is a thing about, um, what's the word he said? We have the vengeance. The vengeance is not ours; it's God's. He the one who brings down the justice. We can be upset about what we see, but what I really like from him, he clearly said that this is time to put foolishness away. That we have to be serious now. He's understanding the actual impact that he might actually have in this country. We're still going to get um, classic Nick, and we got that in that thing yesterday. His righteous anger of what people on the left are doing, celebrating Kirk's death, uh, and he called for people to shame him and all that stuff, and that's good. But I think we saw a different Nick. I thought we saw a more mature Nick, a man that actually might be able to galvanize the right or whatever. I don't believe in right and he basically said the same thing. There's no right and left. Okay, there's good and evil. Right? There's right and wrong, and that's what we have to understand. These little different things that we might have differences in. Um, there's a difference between what is evil and what is not evil. Evil is killing the baby inside the womb. That's evil. You laughing after somebody gets killed is evil. Even when we put down a murder, when the state decides to instill the death penalty, you should not be outside um, celebrating. What that person got was justice, man's justice. Justice. Man, I'm so tired. Um, God gives the final justice. But what really I still find it very hard to understand that those guys couldn't have been a little bit closer to each other. And if and I know there's gonna somebody's gonna actually read or hear this, and they're gonna say I don't understand. But if Charlie, if he actually tried to do something to Nick so he could not get his life and livelihood, that that would be, I wouldn't think that somebody like Charlie Cook would do that, but it's possible, because we're all flawed humans. But the fact he called Nick a troll, well, I think that even Nick had to say that there were times that he was, right? And he said basically it's time to grow up, and if we're going to move on and and deal with the the young men who are being disavowed, disaffected, we're going to have leaders. And obviously, I mean, it was a great, I don't even know what you call it, a speech, whatever. The man is absolutely amazing, a brilliant orator. I'm just, he's one of the greatest I've ever seen in my life. No notes, just talks from the heart in his brain. No ums and likes, or I mean, the guy is just very, very good at what he does. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with what he said last night. There can't not be a unifying message for people on the right. I was the only issue I was worried about. He might come out and say that he's not the man to do stuff like this. That he cannot be the next Charlie Kirk. Well, we don't really need Charlie Kirk right now, as an iconic person that he was. We do need more people like Nick. And however, his followers, the gripers, and I would consider myself one of them, even though I'm an older man. We have to just stop this whole thing, and it's always about Israel and always about Jews. And he kind of like said that last night. Yes, we have to talk about the influence that they have, and if there's any way we can stop it, we should do that, and we will do that. But we have to deal with what's going on right now, and we have to do it with grace and humility, and realize that at the end of the day, it's not us that gives the judgment; it's God. That we're going to be martyred, and people are saying that Charlie Kirk was not martyred. Of course, he was a martyr. He's a martyr for the cause, because he put his faith of God out there every time he was talking about it. So whatever comes out, when we find out whoever actually shot him, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of conspiracy theories about that. They'll try to say, oh, Mossad did this or whatever. We have to understand that the reason why he was shot dead is because he brought God back to the campuses, into the mainstream again. That was actually being listened to. Young conservative men were saying, I don't need to be going out and drinking every night. I don't have to go out and have sex all the time. That I wanted to get my job, and I want to provide for my wife and have kids. And these are things that Charlie and Nick, you know, he's at that point in his life that he needs to get that grounding as well. But again, there are some people in the movement that may never do that. And I'm not going to look at him differently if he never gets married and doesn't have any kids. But it's, you know, he's a little bit younger than Charlie. So he might find the right person. So overall, I thought it was great. One of the greatest shows ever. Lily Online said that he's the future. Of course, he's the future of, but he's not Charlie Kirk. All right. What concerns me is that I'm hearing that that Ben Shapiro is going to take up the banner. That would be a huge backstep. First of all, he's not that generation. He should not be talking about stuff like this. And his worldview is different. Charlie Cook was talking about anti-white stuff, just like Mark Dice, just like Nick, just like Mac Walsh. All these guys are bringing this out. And Ben Shapiro doesn't believe this shit. He doesn't care if this country is 70% black. And I know that sounds racist, but that's not the founders. That's not how this country was built. So he didn't really talk about identity last night. He said basically we need to be all together, regardless of who you look like, as Americans, as citizens of this country. And these are things that we could absolutely unify under. Now, he said that he had talked to some people that they would never be able to understand that they were talking with him. So I'm hoping that for Nick and for the movement, that this division between the mainstream alternate media will be shut down, and that we treat Nick with respect because what he's done, and what he really means and what he actually believes, instead of because he said some edged lord thing over the years about the Holocaust or anything. Um, he made that peace. He said, I've said things that I shouldn't have said, and I've done it many times. I said, but I'm now older. I'm more mature. This is a different time. Things have changed because of what happened. So I give him a lot of credit for doing that. I was worried that he was going to cower away from it. People got upset with me because I called the fact out that he basically cowered when the cops came around. And I tried to give him an out on that, but people just, when I'm having this conversation about stuff, right away they think that I'm going against Nick. And the thing is, I'm one of his greatest supporters because I know what I see. I see a man that can be a great, great man. But he has to allow himself to do that. The difference between Nick and Charlie Kirk is that, and I think that this is why, really, in his heart of hearts, I think he respects Charlie Kirk because this man built all this. He might have got some help financially, but he galvanized the young men in this country that got Trump reelected. And he talked about God at every opportunity he could have, and he does it with reverence to God. So there has to be a common ground there for what Nick and Charlie are. It's shocking to me, and hopefully in his mind that he probably thinks it's a lost opportunity that they never actually got to get together. And I was hoping at some point that they would, because Charlie was starting to talk about stuff like this. He was talking about white stuff. He was talking about the youth of our country, the white man, that are not getting what they need. And yes, Nick brought it up first. That's all great. And that's another thing he didn't do last night. He tried, because Nick is how he is, he almost started talking about himself again, and he kind of stopped himself. He said, it's not about him. It's about what we do from now on. And we always have to put one thing in front of everything, and that's God. So both of these guys are brothers in Christ. So I still don't understand it. Maybe it'll come out. I just don't believe that Charlie Kirk tried to destroy him. Each people go through this type of thing, and I know at some point they would have sat down across each other. I think they would have. I would hope they would have, unless Kirk was really going to try to be a president sometime. So maybe he thought, maybe if I sat down with him, that'll bring up everything that Nick said in the past. But whatever. Well, like I said, great speech, or whatever you want to call it. I think it got the right tone. And he currently, I don't know if he wants to be a leader, an actual figurehead of something, or a warrior of the cause for God and all that. The man is just brilliant. And I hope that nothing happens to him. I hope that Matt Walsh and other guys on that side will actually allow him to come in, because I know Nick needs that. I think he needs that, and then we can get past all that. They don't have to be they don't have to like co-host a show, but I know Nick needs it. You can feel it from him. I have a son at his age. I have seen this. It's the bravado that he has, his intellect, all that stuff, but he's still hurting of what happened to him years ago. And he wants to be accepted because his viewpoints are not bad. It's not like, yeah, he might question certain things that against the mainstream, but what he talks about would have been commonplace 20 years ago. So anyway, I just have to say thank you to Nick for doing what he had to do, and we'll see what he has to say next week. Hopefully we'll actually get this bunno that killed Kirk, and we can move on from that. I'm not so sure about Nick. He got really, early on, he started about, millions and millions of people dying. If he's talking about in the long run, maybe that could happen. But he did make later on say that in 20 or 2 weeks we'll probably wouldn't care about this again because that's how it is. But I think there's a difference now. The question is, I've seen it already. It's already started. Like I said, Lily and other people said how great he talked about last night, but they will not allow Nick to take that position away from um, Kirk. The thing is that even though Nick used to go on college campuses, he might have did it before even Charlie Kirk did it. Um, they just don't think he's the right guy to do it, and they're all basically saying, well, he just lives in his mom's basements and he's not going to do anything. And people forget that he was at Charlottesville. He was at January 6th. He did try to stop the steal of the. I mean, he has been an advocate and for the righteous things. So the question is, will he do that? But that's not. He's not Charlie Kirk. All right. He's going to have to get good people up underneath him that can do that. And the question is, we can't allow what Kirk started, even though it might have some pro-Israel side of it. We can't that now be taken over by that again. We can't have conservative Inc. come back and take over that because Charlie had woken up. Matt Walsh had been woken up. We can't stop now. And that worries me that we're going to allow it to go back to what it is, and we'll just be the same boilerplate Republican bullshit that doesn't really invoke God. I'm going to tell you that if Ben Shapiro goes into to college campuses, you're not going to hear the name Jesus Christ. You're not. I mean, he even said it after the shooting. He said, well, he's with his belief system. And I don't expect Ben Shapiro to say that Jesus Christ is God, because he won't. So we go on from that, and the thing is, Turning Point is not run by Ben Shapiro. I'm not saying they don't have Jewish influences. They probably do. But we need to just go on from that. I mean, with the fact that Stephen Bannon started saying, now we have Nick, I'm like, well, put Nick on your show. Let him come out and discuss that. And maybe that's what maybe that's the guy that got in touch with him. Because he's the one who put his name out there, or he retweeted it. But we saw what we saw. We saw the kindler, mature Nick given exactly what he should have done about Charlie Kirk. A good, great man that we rarely have now. Nick could be one of those people as well. But he also showed his righteous indignation of the shit that's happening right now. And now we have to come back together. But all of it has to be framed under the living God. It has to be. So I'm just going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate that I've gotten a little bit of views on this. I mean, 500. That's a lot for me, and I really appreciate it. I will do everything I can do to respond to those things. I want to be respectful to any comments. I know that people don't watch my entire video. I know that they see the headline and they think that I'm against Nick. There's no. Like I said, he is a man of the now, and we need to support him, and we need to allow him to make that not that change. Just now, the foolishness is over, and it's time for seriousness. All right, I'll let you guys go. Maybe I'll do after this. I'll do a little quick thing about Manchester United and the Derby. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.